emotions, and all of a sudden this has been a jolt. Nothing else really makes sense to me.
No, it's not like markets aren't ripping. The Dow hit like 2 or 3 records.
Right.
Like it's been absolutely awesome. I mean,
yeah, no, it has.
But I also, Scott, are you under the impression, like, because a lot of my friends are texting me, I don't want to say it's a sugar high, but like these types of runs are not sustainable. Whether it's the Dow, it's just not sustainable. I mean, you're talking about in crypto's case, like 20% in 3 days, every 3 days. Like it's insane.
But we've been talking for the last 6-8 months how the market's just been kind of sideways and biding its time.
It's true, actually.
So maybe this is just the time. Maybe this is just the jolt that it needed. To get to where it was supposed to go.
It was supposed to be a year ago. So yeah, possibly, because everybody said when the halving happened, this is what was going to happen.
Right.
But if you look at the historical data, Scott, it's actually typically 6 months to a year after the halving that it goes in a big run.
Which was April 1st.
Which was April 1st. So we're about right.
Yeah, we're there.
We're about right. So,
but it's it's not only it's not only Bitcoin. It's you're looking at Solana,
Doge, Ethereum, Solana. It's all running.
Right. Nobu. Shiba Nu. That's tripled. It's kind of crazy.
Funny. My 23-year-old son, who knows I follow this stuff, was pinging me going, like, is it too high for me to buy Bitcoin right now? I'm like, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I bought it when it was 8,000 and I'm buying it when it was 80,000, and I buy it every week. I have for the last 7 years, so I'm the wrong guy to ask. I would argue the way you buy Bitcoin is the same way you buy the Dow. You put in a consistent amount of money, dollar cost average over a set period of time, and you don't do anything with it. That's it.
Well, we've had this talk about what our various investment theses are. That's not my thesis. I don't do it that way.
Yep.
I'm a buy low guy and hold. And wait to see what happens. Like I don't like to dilute my position once I buy something. So
I realized, Scott, I have a very tough time timing anything at the low, and I'm usually wrong. So if I dollar cost average, I'm safer.
Well, I will. If I buy something high and it goes low, then I'll buy, like I did that with Solana. I saw it went down to 14, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy some. Now it's up to 220. Yeah. So yeah, I do that as well. But if I buy something low and it runs, I don't touch it. I
don't touch it either. Like everyone's like, my son's like, so what are you going to do? I go, what do you mean? What am I going to do? He goes, well, you're up a fortune. I go, yeah. And I'm just going to hold it. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm just going to hold it. Like,
yeah, me too.
I have no plan to sell it.
I'm like 9X on it, like, okay. I'm not ready to sell it. I think it's going to go a lot higher.
Right. So do I. I have no interest in selling it, And then what am I going to go buy if I sell it? Like, first of all, I'm going to pay massive amounts of capital gains.
Right, exactly.
Which is not exactly fun.
No, it's not. Believe me, I sold my company, and that was a painful check to write the next year. But.
Scott, is there any, like, I know you're a real estate guy, like in real estate, at least in Massachusetts, I think it's up to $500,000 on your primary residence. You avoid taxes. When you're selling a company, there's no protection like that. You get taxed on every dollar, right?
Well, yes, but there's certain you get like when I sold it, I had a certain amount in goodwill, which got taxed differently than hard capital gains. So, you had, some of it was being taxed at 23%, some of it was taxed at 42%, some of it was taxed at 33%. So. Sure. Yeah, it's painful any way you slice it, but
sure. Well, for those in the audience, welcome to Investor Office Hours. I'm Steve Walsh. This is my partner in crime, Scott Kallick. Welcome. We do this every Monday night. We have for the last 4 years. The goal is pretty simple for those that are new. It's to give entrepreneurs a chance to come up and practice their pitch if they'd like. Try to keep it to 3 or 4 minutes. We'll give feedback. We promise to be kind. If you want to tell us about your company, what you're doing, if you want to talk about investing, whether it's public markets, private markets, whatever's on your mind, we're here to help. If you'd like to come up and talk to us, just click the little yellow raise hand button, which is at the bottom middle of the screen. We'll bring you up on stage, say hi, give us an overview of what you're doing and any questions you might have. So, and I see some familiar faces already in the audience already.
Yep.
So let's see. Let's bring Adam up. Adam, good evening.
Adam, good evening.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, man.
Good. How are you?
Good. Just wanted to chime in quickly with the Bitcoin discussion. I've bought and held since 2021, and whenever you're saying before, like, it's this kind of unsustainable, this 20% every 3 days type things. It is, but it's like go back 4 or 5 years, the same discussion. It's just like the cycles are just crazy how they do.
I know.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's 2020. I think in 2020 it dipped to 8,000, and I bought one. And then it dipped a year and a half ago to 15,000. And I'm going to my wife. I'm like, I'm finding money under the couch to buy another whole coin. She's like, why? I'm like, because it's 15,000. It was 65,000 3 months ago. I'm like, this is an awesome opportunity.
Yeah.
Adam, what do you do?
So I was on, I guess, 2-3 weeks ago, told you Pool Party Gaming. We were the sports pool startup.
Yep.
If you recall.
I do. But for those that don't know what you do, give us sort of a 1 minute where you're spending your time.
Yeah, so Pool Party Gaming is a sports pool startup. So initially our competitors, they basically charge their users when they come on and create a pool, X amount of dollars per pool with the number of people in it. That was our initial thought, but once we realized, well, we can't charge any users until we hit a certain number, because 80% of them wouldn't put in their credit card and they'd be gone forever.
Sure.
We've been looking for alternative ways to kind of bring in that revenue for now. So we've been partnering with local Pittsburgh establishments. We've partnered with a country club to run a birdie pool we created for them. We've worked with Mike and Tony's Gyros. They're the sponsor of our Second Chance Survivor pool. And then we're just launching a Pittsburgh Steelers quick pick competition with Coach's Bar and Grill. That's going to start this Sunday, actually. On Sunday yesterday, we had a watch party at Mike and Tony's Gyros, and they're going to send me over the full metrics, but we brought in about 75 people to their place, and he said he thinks we brought in about $2,000 more revenue than they do on a typical Steelers Sunday. So that's a really good case study for us there. So I wanted to ask you guys, we are now starting to talk to more and more Pittsburgh establishments, and I'm sharing my screen now. A lot of people, whenever I talk to them on the phone, they like what they hear, but they say, I'm going to need something to show my people. So This is the slide deck that we've created. I recall so this isn't like an investor deck.
This would be like a customer deck that says, why should I put you in my place and be a partner?
Exactly. So I recall you guys said in an investor deck, you probably don't want to see any more than 12 slides on it. You got to cut it down. What I'm working with right now, we're 23, 21 if you're counting the intro and the last slide there, which wanted to get your thoughts if that was too long, but I think it's probably best if I just kind of go through it.
Sure. Yeah, man. So let me ask you in reverse, Adam.
Yeah.
If a total stranger sent you a 21 slide deck, isn't that too long? Are you going to give them that amount of time to read that? Be honest with me. If somebody sent you a 21 slide deck on a Tuesday,
I would skim it. I would say it's probably.
And I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
I would skim it too, but like 21. So let's start with 21 slides. Like you got to figure. I mean, and I'm not saying it's 2 slides, but once you get to like a dozen, like you should be able to talk about. Remember, if this is a customer one, it's actually easier than investors because it's really about you, your value prop, and the with them. What's in it for them? Why am I giving you the time of day, Adam? But let's take a look at how you position this so we could probably think about other areas you could sort of trim it down.
Cool. So this one that I have up, this is for Shooters Golf. They are a bar restaurant that also has a golf driving range that's a simulator as well. So all of my slides, I've started with a little intro with their logo, just basically thanking them for the opportunity to talk to them. we're trying to create a win-win-win with our users, our partners, and then it's going to help out Pool Party Gaming as well. And then, this is an overview, and we'd love to speak more. Next slide is just a brief intro about Pool Party Gaming, how we started, and what we're doing now.
Okay.
Then talk about the business-to-business connection, kind of elaborate on that win-win-win customers, partnering establishments, Pool Party Gaming.
Okay.
Tell them about our ongoing partnerships. So at least 2 of these are very recognizable in the Pittsburgh area. Coaches probably most, but not all are going to know there. So just a little credibility slide there.
Okay. I love it.
Then talk about the business connection, the partnership opportunities that we think. So for this place, it's a golf place. We think they could be a good fit for our birdie pool that we've done at Chartiers, that now that we're going to expand to other country clubs, our golf major sports pool that we're going to launch come April. And then we have some exploratory ideas in there as well. So the birdie pool, we explained the premise of the birdie pool. It's pretty simple, that at an individual club or course, the first person to birdie all 18 holes wins. But we also made it so, it's not just for the elite golfer. We also made it so there were prizes for anyone who birdied all 18 throughout the year or hit a certain threshold there. And then we talk to them about our vision. And I got to get rid of that. There we are. Basically let them know, we launched it at Chartiers Country Club in June. And throughout the past year, we've been making relationships with other clubs that we're going to launch in 2025. We learned what went right, what went wrong, so we can enhance the game this season. And we're also working with the Tri-State PGA to kind of try to standardize it in the area. Then we talk about what are the benefits for them. So they get website branding, pool environment branding, social media. We'll collaborate with them in our pool email updates. They can have a blurb. We can host live events with them. And obviously it gets them in front of their target audience, the golfer audience. And then there's the ask. So from them, we would want some type of incentives and rewards for the golfer. So it could be as simple as anyone here gets $25 off at Shooters or 15%, things like that. And then also what we've been doing, our deals we've been setting up has been structured around the direct business that we drive our partners. So Mike and Tony's, if we didn't bring 50 or more people to their establishment, then we weren't going to get paid. This is something we knew we could do. So that's the kind of deals we've been setting up.
So why don't we pause here? Because I think I've got what you're trying to do, and I think I've got some real easy feedback on how you can trim this down.
Yep.
So go all the way to the beginning. Go to the second slide. I'll just give you an example. Useless. Like, you're basically telling them what their business is. No shit, we know who we are. Take their logo, throw it on the first page, and just say, partnership with Shooters. Have your logo, their logo, and under it, partnership discussion. It gets rid of the second slide. The birdie pool example. The goal of the slide is not to go into every detail of what the birdie pool is. You had 5 slides on the birdie pool. You need 1. Here's what the birdie pool is. Here's why it's important to you. Here's the benefit. High level. It is a pool that does this, this, and this. Our thoughts on how to monetize it is this, this, and this. And here's the WIFM. And then if you have a second idea, I think in the thing you had 4 different ideas. The birdie pool was one of them.
Yeah.
Have 1 slide for each of them. So you've got 4 slides covering the 4 different ideas. And then at the end, a summary of here are the 4 different ways to work together. Here's the monetization path. Here's the type. I love the customer slide of the ones you've already done it with because it gives them context in Pittsburgh. Honestly, man, this thing is a dozen slides max if you do that.
Awesome.
Scott, what do you think?
I agree with your last statement. I agree with, what to get rid of. Go back to the beginning, please.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to get rid of that. But what I'm seeing or what I'm not seeing is Steve mentioned, with them, what's in it for them. So what's the purpose here? The purpose is to drive clients to these establishments, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what you need to say. That's that's your purpose.
It's too funny, Scott. It almost got lost in the translation. You're right. That is the goal.
Right. And that's, so when you're giving them a deck, they're going to look at this and say, oh, okay, we're going to drive, we're going to get people into our seats. We're going to put asses into the seats. That's what we're doing here. And from there, they can kind of figure it out. Okay, these guys are creative. They come with programs. They get, they bring people in, and then somewhere you need to kind of explain how you get compensated for it.
And Adam, what did you say happened at last week's Steelers game that with that one location? What were the type of results you saw?
So here's the case study. So this just explains what we did. We had a free square pool, 50-50, and then our quick pick event that was next to the game. So whenever, the Steelers scored a touchdown, if you said Najee Harris scores the first, you got points. So we had one TV with the leaderboard on, but he's going to print me out the reports tomorrow. So this just happened yesterday, but through our square.
Says they drove $2,000 more in the day.
Correct.
I mean, that should be in big, bold letters. Right. Here's an example of our last customer. We did this. And one event in a single day, we drove $2,000 to their bottom line, period.
Right. And you can just do away with everything else. Pool party brought 78 attendees into Mike and Tony's.
Yep. We drove 78 attendees and $2,000 in additional revenue in one day.
Right. And food and drink to Mike and Tony's. That's all you need to say.
That's it.
Because you're giving, by saying, hey, a free square pool, 50-50 raffle, you're giving up your intellectual capital there. You're telling them what you're doing. You don't need to do that.
Gotcha.
Adam, how would you like 75 to 100 more customers and $2,000 to $3,000 more in revenue in a single day? Great. Let us run an event. Here are some ideas on how we could do it as it relates to golf. Here's how you make money. And what if the worst thing that happens is we don't drive one person? Your risk is like nothing.
Right.
It's very minimal risk. It's all upside.
Right. Awesome.
I hope that's helpful, Adam.
Very helpful. Yeah. Appreciate that.
I think you got everything here. It's just your sizzle is getting lost in the words because there's so much of it, as opposed to just hit them over the head.
Right.
We want to drive users and revenue for businesses in the Pittsburgh area, and here's how we do it.
Yeah, you have a compelling offer. I mean, you have a really compelling offer. Bring us in. The only thing that can happen is good here.
Scott, it's like there's not much downside for the business.
Right.
Adam's taking all the risk.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Okay, and then last question on this. So Shooters, it's a very cool place, but they have one entity north of Pittsburgh. We're also talking to 5 Iron Golf, where Five Iron has a spot in Pittsburgh, but they're also national. When I talked to the guy, he said we can kind of do our own thing at Pittsburgh. So ideally, pie in the sky, if I had to pick, it would be 5 Iron all day because of the growth opportunities there. 5 Iron has a lot more red tape. It's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to get in with them type thing, to where right now, I'm going to send this off to Shooters, and I know I'm going to hear from them sooner. And if they said, yes, we want on board, and I haven't heard from 5 Iron yet, is that something I should maybe just space out time differently? Or
no, I think you do. I think you do both. This is not an exclusive deal. I would never want to sign an exclusive deal with anybody. In fact, what you do is you go do Shooters immediately and use it to springboard to 5 Iron.
Right.
Yeah.
You use it as a closing tool with 5 Iron. Just say, I'm sorry, you're in the golf space. You guys know Shooters over on Route 9? Yeah, we just did an event for them and drove 100 people in a single day.
Awesome.
They're going to pay attention to that. In fact, it's FOMO. They'll be like, why aren't we looking at this? Why aren't we paying attention to these guys? It'll immediately get them to pay attention. In fact, the email you send to 5 Iron is, we just drove this for one of your competitors. Didn't know if you wanted to take a look at our offering.
Awesome.
That would get my attention if I was the GM of 5 Iron.
Awesome.
I hope that's helpful, brother.
Very helpful. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome, man. Let's if you could unshare your screen, that'd be great. We're just going to jump around a little bit. I think Janine was next.
I think she was, yes.
Janine, good evening.
Hi, Scott and Steve. How's it going?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good. Are you ready for our next episode of What Should I Do About This Consulting Client?
Okay, welcome. As Janine turns, it's a new soap opera. It's awesome.
Well, I'm starting to realize that most people are like trying to get whatever help they can, trying to figure out how to manage these things. I don't think I was the only one who realized once you leave a job, like, oh, somebody is not already being paid to help me. I need to do that if I want help.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah, especially if you're in sales, if the management is good, they like really will help you do well, and that just doesn't exist when you're the owner of the business. Anyways, so okay, I need to have a conversation with the client about a renewal, and I want to just kind of run through like what's going on and what exactly has happened. I think that the reason generally that I find this challenging in this specific case
Okay.
is because this client, their business, it's a tech reselling business based in the UK. And in the UK, the financials of private companies are posted online. So I was able to look at their financials and see that they have £500,000 in the bank and like £400,000 of outstanding receivables. So they have money to where there's not like immediate pain. That's obviously like a pretty good business.
Yep.
So the founder has had some personal issues happen to where he no longer wants to like push hard on sales. He obviously like doesn't really have the pain where he has to. So the engagement was for me to just simply grow his community, and he's not like making a big push on conversion out of that, or like my function is not really to like drive revenue for him. So the flip side of that is that it's like it's a little bit harder for me to assess like if I'm bringing value or not. Like on one hand, you know, I have not yet to date actually added anyone to his community, but secondly, it's been about 3 weeks, and most people who do marketing campaigns and these types of engagements won't even let a client sign on for less than like 90 days. Because as I'm sure you can imagine, there's been a lot of like figuring stuff out. So, I mean, in terms of what I put in writing that I would do, I said I would create one new email template every week and I would send it out to contacts. I didn't specify how many people I would send it to.
Okay.
There were some kind of big questions in the beginning, like the client thought he wanted, you know, fewer emails to go out with personalization. And then we, over the course of multiple conversations, realized we're not personalizing anything. At first, he wanted me to run them through Chat GPT to make it sound like it's from a British person. He's really paranoid that stuff that I'm writing sounds American. And he like, I mean, I named a file personalized with a Z, and he like lost his mind. So he like really wants everything to be as British as possible. And so I'm, you know, stepping up to the plate. But then, okay, so he didn't like it. He didn't like it when I put it in Chat GPT. Surprise, surprise, it looked AI generated, which just as an aside, I'm finding that like my sweet spot is working for people who don't want their stuff to look like it's written by Chat GPT.
Very fair.
My niche, I think, going forward is going to be like not being an AI. So if anybody is interested in a non-AI, just feel free to contact me. So anyways, now we're getting to the point where the renewal comes up in next week, like in about a week. And while I have delivered on the number of templates, and I've also given way more of my time than I originally promised, you know, in lengthy editing sessions with the client to help them, like their business coaching has come into play. Like, what are your real goals here? And like, what do you actually want to convey in this messaging? So of course, as I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, there's been a lot of things the client had not even figured out before we started working together on this. So on one hand, like only 100 emails have actually gone out. So I can tell he's thinking about like things I'll do like past the point that he needs to pay me again. But I guess I do feel a little uncomfortable about the fact that there aren't like massive sparkling results like at week 3 of doing this. So I'm just wondering like a good way to kind of have a conversation, which by the way, the client doesn't seem concerned that like not a lot has happened. And he's told me he wants to work with me long term. And he's talking about like things we're going to do again after he needs to pay me again. So like what's the best way to, you know, get him to pay me again in this whole situation?
So I have an opinion.
Mhm.
And it's the same, and you know us a long time, Janine. So like we'll give you the candid tidbits of
Yeah, just put it on me. Yeah, you don't have to sugarcoat anything.
how to package that better. That was a 10-minute question. Like you got to package it better. It's here's my struggle. I've got a client. We're at the end of the engagement. Here's what I've delivered. Here's what he thought. Here's how I'm over delivering, under delivering. It's time for the renewal. Here's the value I think I bring. How do I bring this thing to closure? Like you lost me 3 times in the explanation of what the question was.
Yeah,
So,
I need more clarity in my own mind. I realized that was a
so
big
to
thing.
answer your question, I think you just literally have to lay it out. Here's where we started and what you asked me to do. Here's what I delivered, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm over delivering in this, under delivering in this. And your opinion of where we're at is we're plus or minus based on we didn't set the right goals. We weren't specific in the goals we set. Maybe they weren't realistic, and because we were shooting in the dark because this has never been done before. And here's what my plan would be for the next cycle. And if that cycle is another 90 days, whatever, here's my plan to either continue, modify, rectify, increase, decrease based on the results of the first program. That's how I would look at it. But let me pause there and ask Scott for his comments.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, what you said was really salient. I mean, Janine, you need to just you need to truncate your question a little bit, because I too was lost in the question. I think really what it comes down to is just having a very frank conversation with him.
Mhm.
Look, here's what I perceive. I perceive you're a little bit frustrated in this area. You're happy with this. What is your thought? Just listen, hear him out. And okay, where would you like to go with it? And I think it's that simple. I don't think it's got to be any more complicated than that.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right, Scott. I do. I think keep it really simple.
Mhm.
Like it either worked or it didn't, and there are going to be reasons behind all of that. Lay them out and make your case, make your argument. This is why it worked or it didn't. This is what I would do differently. And if you want to engage in another 90 days, here's how I see a path.
Okay.
And by the way, part of this could be neither one of you understood if you were setting the right goals in the beginning. That's totally possible, by the way. It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. It could be, part of it maybe you're just not really communicating with each other, fully at this point either. So
Yeah. I hope that's helpful, Janine.
No, this is good. I mean, I think what I've gotten out of this is that I've just way overthought this whole thing, and it just does not have to be that hard or complicated.
It doesn't.
it doesn't. I mean, you just need to go to him and hear him out and see where he's at, and ask him where he'd like to go with it.
Yeah. Is that
Okay.
helpful?
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I think you're up next, my friend.
Yikes is up next. Yikes, you went back on mute.
You go. What's up, brother?
Yeah,
All
no,
good.
you're good.
Okay. Got it. Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me. Okay. Right. Hmm. Is this site you sent us to? Is this their site or yours? Who's they? Who's they? Mark Andreessen or your friend? Okay. Okay. I don't know, man. I see a site with A16Z's logo, Mark Andreessen's name all over the place. Like, yeah, I would. I got it. I got it. He's running with it until you guys make a dime, and then all of a sudden it'll be intellectual property lawsuits coming to your way to a theater near you. That's it's I don't know, man. It's you do you, yikes. You're a different cat, but my guidance would be that's like let me give you an example. One of my friends, who Scott knows, Sarah Letterman, we used to do a live stream on Twitter, on Twitter Spaces for founders every week. And we had a couple hundred founders in there every week, similar to this. And she decided it would be really funny on April Fool's Day one year to post on Twitter that she had just been promoted to president and CEO of Twitter and Elon was stepping aside. And she got like thousands of people reacting to it, celebrating it. And Elon picked up on it and shut her down for a week. And he shut her down 5 minutes before we were supposed to go live with 200 people waiting for us. And she was shut down for a week. And the funny thing was, Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, loved the post so much because she ended up creating a T-shirt and posted it on Twitter, and it said "Mars is for quitters." And Elon got pissed and shut her down. Now she got it reactivated in like a week, but it fucked us up pretty bad. And I don't know. It's just, I think of that story every time someone's doing something like this, and I just get that, and I'm like, I called her. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "It was a joke." I'm like, "Well, apparently the richest guy in the world didn't feel that way." So in this case, Mark Andreessen is probably the most famous venture capitalist in the world. So I don't know if I'd want to be fucking with his name, image, and likeness of his firm. That's just my opinion. Okay. Interesting. I would, dude. I go with God. I wish you well, man. Scott, are you in alignment with me, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to do something with him, get it in writing. That's all. That's
Yeah. Sure. This is a really good idea. I think that Scott's point is cover your ass, maybe get them to partner with you on it, as opposed to just be like, "Hey, can you retweet this? And we're using your name, image, and likeness." Yeah, the DAO's got to vote on it. Okay. We gotta pause for a minute because we got a lot of people that want to come up and chat. So we'll be bop around. I think Scott, who's next? Is it Tessa?
Tessa's next. Yeah.
Tessa, welcome. Hey man, how you doing?
Doing all right. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Give
Go ahead,
me
sure,
just a
please.
moment here. I think it's that one. Should be. Okay, that may not be coming up.
Nope.
Not yet.
All right, let me just do the pitch. A couple of years ago, in the before the pandemic, I started a startup doing room escape games. We then discovered that the place where the real money is corporate team building. Pandemic hit. It very much changed how we had to do business. There were some disagreements in the executive suite, and I split off from that. I've taken some time to digest and am refocusing on specifically that corporate team building aspect. Specifically playing games to discover the factors holding back your people from doing their best work together. We see the isolation and remote work paradigm, disrupting team productivity, interpersonal frictions that reduce psychological safety, and inflexible expectations, maybe from the before times, creating bottlenecks and blockers. What we do is we guide your teams towards healthier and more productive ways of working with a 45-minute challenge followed by a debrief. We then identify major stumbling blocks with team cohesion and offer suggestions to eliminate or reduce the negative impact on your team's productivity. I'm going to attempt to paste or to throw the actual pitch deck into the
Cool.
chat. But that's pretty much it right there.
Got it. Where's the company now? Like, how old is it? Any paying customers, users? Like, where are you at now?
So we, let me pull this up.
Just rough math. Do you have any? Let me break it out. Anybody paying?
Right now, paying me? No.
Okay. So no paying customers, no revenue yet.
Our concept was validated. That previously mentioned startup. We gathered about $350K of revenue in our first fiscal year, and then generated about $1 million in average in revenue while scaling. I was the founding engineer.
Okay.
But
none of that has anything to do with this company as far as what I'm asking, right?
It does, because we're going to be going to them for the production. That funding is not directly available to me.
Got it. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you're at the point now, product's built, but you have to go get paying customers. You have to go get someone to buy it, right?
I'm at the point where I'm looking for seed funding. I've thrown about 50K of my own at this, and then probably another 40-ish kind of over the course of the last year or two.
Okay.
The framework, the software framework that I've rebuilt from scratch, so I'm not inadvertently copying stuff from the previous startup, has been what's occupied me. And at this point, I'm ready to get money to move forward with the actual premise of this second, more refined startup.
So, Tessa, first of all, thanks for giving us your overview and for joining us. One thing you can expect if you haven't already seen it with our friend Janine, we've known Janine for years, is we're overly candid. So
absolutely.
I'll give it to you in this way, and I think sometimes founders have this in reverse. You don't raise money to go validate and get paying customers. You raise money to take the customers that are already buying your product and revenue and scale it faster. So as two guys that combined have backed about 100 companies and raised $1 billion in capital, I will tell you that of my 66 portfolio companies, this is the number of them that I've invested in before they had revenue.
Okay.
And Scott's very similar. So,
Right.
And in this current climate, there are so many, the gap between someone that can build a product and someone that can build that same product and actually get someone to pay for it, that gap actually is pretty wide. So the quicker you can get to the point of saying anybody is willing to pay any amount of money for your product and validate it, the easier it will be to raise money. Raising money will simply be a byproduct of your ability to do that. And that's hard to hear, but that's the reality of the climate right now. And I mean, I look at 20 deals a week, and 99% of them are at that point where they're like, Steve, I've got the first 20 customers and 10,000 in revenue, but if I could just get some capital, I could take this to 100 customers. But let me pause there and ask Scott for his comments.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. You were about to say something, Tessa.
Yeah, and part of what I wanted to say is it was Nike and Intel that validated this. They paid for the product.
Okay.
So that is not money that went into my accounts, but I do have the data and hands-on experience of having done that. I don't know if that changes any of what Steve said.
It is, but it's almost, let me give you an example. I'm a Boston guy, so I'm a Boston sports guy through and through. The Patriots used to win Super Bowls. No one gives a shit about it this year. They're getting killed in every game.
Except against the Bears.
Except against the Bears, Scott. Sorry about that game yesterday. But I think it's nice. It validates you, Tessa, and that you've done it before. So I think it answers the question of, does this guy know how to do it and build product? It doesn't answer the question that in this iteration at this time, is anyone willing to pay for it? I think that's
fair.
something you have to validate, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
And it may be if,
ahead,
you know, maybe if Nike is, you know, if Nike's kind of validated your product, I mean, companies like that always have developmental money, you know, and that may be an avenue for you to, you know, to walk through with them.
Especially if you've done it before.
Right.
Thank you.
But Tessa, thanks for spending time with us, man. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Scott, is it Adrian next or David? I've lost
I
track.
think it's David.
David, let's go to you, and then we'll jump to Adrian.
Yeah.
You're on mute, David. There you go.
Yeah,
There you
first time on this. Hey guys.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. Where are you calling in from?
Calling in from Dallas.
Okay.
Nice.
So I've
You
been-
in for weather.
I love winters down here. Yeah. Originally from Boston, actually.
Oh, wow. Really? What part?
Brighton.
My whole family grew up in Brighton, right near St. E's Hospital, the Carib Pub, and the Stockyard.
Yeah, that's all still there. I was there last week.
That's awesome. What are you working on?
So I'm looking. I have a kind of a social entrepreneurship. I put up a slide. Can you guys see it?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That's it. Eats.
So this is solving a problem in society and creates a bunch of, food waste creates a bunch of different problems, right? And this is a quick slide, so I don't want to take up a lot of time of everybody else, but I'm looking to find out people that are interested in what my mission is. Basically, it's feeding people with food that would go to waste. And so let's see here. I don't know how to do this, but let's see if I can use some of these buttons here. Okay, yeah. So can you guys see that now? Current purchase,
Yes.
So food donation is a real, all the grocery stores currently are donating food. All restaurants can donate food. There's a law, this Good Samaritan law, which was passed in '96, that allows some protections. And there's recently what they call the Food Donation Improvement Act, which was passed almost 2 years ago by the Biden administration to incentivize companies to divert from landfills into people's plates, basically, or less from a landfill. And so my target market is this right here, which is grocery stores in phase one. There's no platform business in food. I've got a bigger vision, but basically build this product. We've got a valuation already. We've raised about $125,000 a year. I'd say it's pre-revenue, Steve, but it's we did about $80,000 in COVID. And the backstory is my daughter was 12 at the time, and I have 6 kids. Only one girl. She wanted to start a business selling cupcakes, and we didn't want her on social media, so we built our mobile app. The mobile app's called Eats. Published it just before COVID. She made national news as a startup entrepreneur, and we got a lot of people download it. We were actually selling food that it's kind of gray area what you could do, but we turned it into this rescue. And basically what I'm building now and solving for is the food waste. So connecting the food from where it's available today. So you're talking grocery stores, restaurants, catering companies, and connecting to people that want it. The idea is to connect this and provide this service. We've got right now, we've got Costco using it. I've been in all these stores here, and we've got really good feedback on it. It solves 2 problems: the B2B, B2C model. So creating a platform of people that want the food, and we can track it through the nonprofits that actually receive the food, and then these create the connection, and then also the tax deducted receipts and tracking of all that food, so you can tell what the ESG, environmental and social impact of that food is in the environment and in the community. None of this exists today. This is all brand new. We've just filed 1 patent. We've got another patent that we could talk more about, but it's a process patent. And then our team is, I lived 14 years in Mexico. I graduated UMass, double major economics Spanish. I lived 14 years out in the country working for a company in Massachusetts called iBasis, which was a pre-IPO company. Got hired by them. I did 6 years outside the country, currently in Dallas. The team's all Hispanic. We also have a sponsor. So we have 4 companies that have sponsored us with some money and plus raised $125,000 in the last year. We started actually in 2019 and worked on this while I was at Rackspace and Oracle. So basically, I'm looking for this. That's it. So that I've got full financials a whole bit. I'm looking to get feedback on who would be, where I can find angels who would be interested in this. It is currently pre-IPO, but the TCV for a contract with Costco, with the amount of stores they have and the impact it can on business, it's really and I put it on here, but there's 1,000 times investor. It's like the way Uber was before, the taxi business before it was Uber, right? There's an amount of business that's been generated around creating a platform connecting people that have vehicles or have a service with somebody that wants a service. It's the same thing in the food industry, right? If you can think of the impact of connecting food in real time when it's surplus to the people need it, and then the kind of the ecosystems around that, which could be additional businesses like food trucks. There's no current app for real-time food truck access. There's only sites, farm to table, with Misfit Foods and things like that. I've raised $300 million with no traction, no viral growth inside of the app or connecting to the people in the community. And so there's a big opportunity. And we're just starting again with, my vision, which is this. It's built, it works, great reviews on Apple and Google, over almost right now 1,500 downloads. And we're really well produced, really well connected in Dallas. So that's it. So, I don't know where to look. We've raised some money with some angels here. A lot of people are some people are interested, some people aren't. I'm interested to find out where I could find the vein of people that would be interested in this without going to 100 people and just kind of keep a small group. That's all.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that, David. By the way, I'm also a UMass alum, and iBasis was a customer of mine 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Sales days. So
what kind of business?
With your path. Thanks for sharing that. Look, I think, where would I go? Where would I start? I think you would obviously look at family offices, funds, and angels that are in the sustainability space, in the clean tech movement, in the clean food movement, logistics space. Those are the things that come to mind if I was you and thinking of where do I go to find these people, and where do you find them? Signal, Crunchbase, LinkedIn. Literally, if you put in sustainability investor on LinkedIn, you probably get 50 names. That's where I would start.
Social impact.
Thank you, Scott. Social impact investors. Those are huge. There's a lot of money going into this type of stuff. That's where my head goes and where I would start. Another thing here in Texas, the Capital Factory, awesome organization. I've done a ton of business with those guys. They help early stage companies find capital in Texas. They're Texas bred. That's another place I would go. Those are the types of people and where I would at least start. But let me pause and ask Scott to comment.
Yeah, I think, Steve, I think you're on the right track. If I was in that space, social impact investors, social impact nonprofits.
Yes.
They can steer you toward people who like to invest in this type of thing. Look, there's lots of people hungry. There's lots of people looking for meals. I think you'll attract a lot of interest in the nonprofit world with this.
And David, I've got another interesting suggestion that a lot of my founders have found success. If there's so many of these organizations in Dallas that think you're the shit and Costco, go ask them to participate in your round because they benefit the most. They get a massive benefit. You take care of a huge problem for them. So if Costco's down with what you're doing, ask them to participate. If there's a local business that benefits from what you're doing, say, great, we're going to open up a small round. Would love you to be involved, and make it easy. Great attractive terms, raise it on a safe so it's super simple and low cost for you to close. Make the minimum 25, 50K. Go get 4 of those. You got $250,000. You know what I mean? That's how I would do it.
Steve, so from Costco, you think they would have funds for this, or you mentioned a couple? It was a couple of things together.
I think big companies that have big reach have huge social impact budgets, and they don't always know how to spend them. And then somebody like you comes around and solves a major problem and asks for short money to solve that problem for them. Could be an option for you.
Yep.
And do you think it would work for a for-profit company also?
Absolutely. For-profit, nonprofit. Remember, you think of whose problem you're solving and how you're solving it for them.
Big for-profit companies have they have a big nest egg, of money that they're going to give away. So
I'll give you another one you may not have even thought of because there's 1,000 of them in Texas. Schools, colleges, and universities. They have to get rid of food all the time. How do they do it? What's this? Sustainability plays on college campuses is massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. Hey, David, thank you. I want to take a little bit of time to get to Adrian before we
Appreciate it, guys.
time
Yeah.
out.
Thank you.
David, thank you, man.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Adrian,
Adrian, good
thanks
evening.
for being with us, and thank you for your patience.
Absolutely, not a problem. So I'll share my screen real quick, and I'll share the details, the financial pieces. But I built an AI software with my team. We currently have an agency on the back end of this where we've been serving clients now. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and we're about $600,000 in revenue on just Brand Butler, and we launched this in the beginning of the year. The software, we were previously called AdrianAgency.com, and we rebranded as Brand Butler. But on the front end, we have an AI software that we built. We got about $1,000 a month in recurring revenue coming in from agencies and other people who are using our software. But essentially, we built an AI Jarvis to help companies create their brand. I don't know if the audio is sharing or not, but it does brand strategy, marketing planning, and sales planning. So it'll come up with your story, your niche, and your identity within your brand. Inside of your marketing, it does your lead, prospect, and customer. And within sales, it does your offer, your pitch, and then your process. And so we've built out this software to replicate myself. I've been doing this consulting for the last decade, and I've consulted over 5,000 companies. And there was nobody in the space. There's Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels, and that's production. So in my world, as a social impact guy, I focus on purpose, planning, preparation, and production, right? But no one's in the planning space. People don't know how. When I kept finding this pattern where I go to companies, I'm like, hey, can you show me your marketing plan? They're like, I don't have one. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a marketing plan? 99% of small businesses don't have them. And I was like, well, what's your brand strategy? Well, I don't have one. I just like copy this and copy that and find stuff that I like online. So their stuff is all over the place. Well, I've developed a software that allows you to do that you go through our process just by answering some basic questions. And it creates a brand blueprint that takes you through your pitch or your story and all the phases of your story. It takes you through your niche and all the phases of the pain points that your customer is experiencing and how you repel certain clients that you don't want to work with. And then it creates your identity for you, including your archetype. So this one's the hero and the caregiver. It gives you your mission statement. It creates a brand image, font colors, the complementary colors. We're working on fonts. Then I have an implementation call where I'm certifying people to be certified brand butlers. It's a 5K program that I'm doing. And I'm bringing people through right now actively. I just signed up 5 people this last week from a webinar that I did called the Brand Hacker webinar. So I bring people in, I certify them in my process, and then they get these consulting clients from me because I can't duplicate myself. They walk them through the branding blueprint. They create a marketing plan where it creates their ideal customer avatar, the purchase drivers, frustrations and fears, wants and aspiration, the prospecting phase. And this is our version 1.0. We're about to release 2.0 here at the end of the month, which has a SWOT analysis and a bunch of other stuff, customer value journey stuff. I can't really share all of that yet. Sure. It's under wraps. And then the whole sales.
You said 600,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
How much of that is consulting versus brand butler? How much of that 600 is brand butler versus the consulting gig, the legacy business?
So the consulting is all comes. That's another corporation that I have. It's called Future Tech Global Marketing.
So 600 is just
the revenue that's made on the 600 is divided between the software subscriptions, which is like I said, 12,000 a year at this moment. We haven't even done a full release to the public yet. I've just done my inner circle and given it out to like 100 people, and I've got 10 people paying $100 a month. And this is just the agency plan where you have an unlimited amount of accounts. Right? You can put as many brands in the system as you want. But the part I didn't talk about is the toolbox. Once you have the marketing plan, the brand strategy, and your sales plan with your offer, and you've trained this whole thing, now I can write your Facebook posts. I can write your webinar via sales. I can write your email campaigns. I have all these different tools, client acquisition cost calculator, what your marketing budgets would be. Everything is all in a really quick, easy toolbox that we built where we've got about 25 different tools to go implement this stuff. So you got the plans and the data set that we train your AI bot on that specific brand, and now you can implement all this stuff. So about 680, 690, somewhere like that is actual agency services. So our business model on that is very, very basic. It could not be any simpler because I've been doing the agency stuff for so long. I broke it into 3 possible options they can do with us. We can do all of the organic marketing for $5,000 a month, which includes SEO, SEM, SMS, social, and email. Or we can do all of their paid search, display, YouTube, Meta, and even influencers, as I have an influencer platform I'm connected to. And then we can also come in as a fractional CMO My consultants that I've trained and certified in my stuff can come in and help run that stuff for these businesses. So this is the back end. This is where that 680, 690 is coming in right now. And I have clients that I have a personal injury law firm that pays me $15,000 a month. I just got another one, Maggie Yu, is a doctor. She's $10,000 a month. So that's where.
Got it. So let's do this, because I know we want to be sensitive of people's time. So I think we want to go a little bit deeper on this. Could you come back next week? Is that possible?
Yeah, love to have you back.
And we'll put you up first, because I'd love to go a little bit deeper. I do have some questions around
love to learn more.
Scalability, defensibility, and also, is this venture scale versus just a really big services business that you probably don't ever have to raise venture for? So I've got some thoughts around that. If you can come back and wrap with us, and we'll put you up first next week. Is that fair?
That's fine. Yeah, I got an offer already and I turned them down. So
I love it.
No, thanks.
I love to hear about it.
This whole thing myself without an investor, but I want to have.
By the way, man, that's the full credit answer. I love that.
Yeah.
So, Adrian, we'll put you up first next week. Thank you to everybody, because we got through like 7 different people tonight. Thank you to everybody that came and joined us and for what they do. And Scott, any final words of wisdom, sir?
No, I mean, it's always inspiring to talk to people with great ideas, to see what their vision is. And I appreciate everybody here. Thank you so much for being with us.
All right, folks. We'll see you guys next week.
One thing for Adrian, real quick. I think you're doing it the right way when it comes to AI. You want that on top of people and not replacing people. So that's that'll be our foreshadowing today.
Thank you, folks.
Cheers.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Alright, let's see. I think I'm down to do the after party. I usually don't. I usually skip it, but I do kind of want to chat with this Adrian guy a little bit more. But what I'll do is I will fucking engagement farm the shit out of everything. Do I have like a thing? Yeah, I can do like this and then that. And then I guess, yeah, if you want to come hang out, if there's anybody actually here, I'm going to put that there. And then I'm gonna put this in the Twitch chat if I can find it, because my shit's all over the place. And then if you want, let's close the pop out. Maybe that'll work. Okay, and then we'll put that there. Chat pause due to something. Okay. And then, yeah, I might hang out in Discord for a little bit. There should be a link somewhere if you want, if this was interesting to you or whatever. Then feel free to consume additional stuff.